One thing that pretty much goes hand in hand with being an artist is anxiety. A lot of people tend to think that this is something that really only impacts creators with lower amounts of followers or subscribers, but this isn't the case. 100 fans or 100 million fans, almost all content creators will get anxiety about their work at some point. I wouldn't say I'm a big YouTuber, but I do know that plenty of people look up to me. The fools. Maybe it's not conveyed through my normal videos, but I get anxiety too. A lot. Almost every video, almost every week, almost every day. After making my self-reflection video, I noticed that a lot of my fans actually related to my problems or worries that I thought I was alone in. So I thought to myself, maybe it'd be good to talk a little bit more about anxieties I have specifically as an artist or a content creator. You know, something more general that other artists could hopefully relate to. Now, I'm not the most stable person myself, so I apologize if the views or advice I give is faulty, but I'm gonna do my best to hopefully help out some artists struggling to pick themselves up. The first thing a lot of people probably wonder may be, is it worth it? Seeing all these other artists posting non-stop may be a deterrent. Aspiring artists often feel scared of posting work in fear that it will be judged too fiercely. Or they don't feel like they want to take the time in order to get better to catch up to these artists that have already skyrocketed. Everyone's got their own style. Even when inspired by others, it generally shines with a hint of uniqueness. That is generally what attracts people to your work. It's almost impossible to not find someone to enjoy it. If you enjoy creating anything, by all means, share it with the world. Don't get into art or something with the sole mindset of, this'll make me famous and popular. When stuff is done out of love, it normally shows in your work and invites people to follow that, whereas too much pandering or forced work will tend to have a negative aura and draw people away. Alongside that, it's important to know who you are as an artist. This is something that generally takes a good amount of time. People flip-flop constantly as they discover new things. A fan artist may realize that they want to make OC when they see the reactions to their work, but wish it was for a character they actually created. Or an animator could realize they really only enjoy the storyboarding process and focus solely on that. It's important to figure out not only what you'll create, but how you'll present yourself. I don't really know who I am as an artist. Some days I'm a video creator, some days I'm an animator, other days I'm a speedrunner, and other days I just want to draw boobs and butts. You may wind up freaking out if you spread yourself too thin like that, because if one aspect of yourself isn't doing as well as another person, focusing only on one thing, it's possible to feel like you are falling behind, even though if you add up all the things you're doing, it would probably wind up being higher. Not only that, but you can often lose track of who you are as an artist with any success. This normally stems from doing fan art. The mass appeal of pre-existing characters and viral campaigns do make it easier to gain some traction, but when diving into this too often, you may disconnect yourself from your personal projects. The fear of losing the fan base you built with the fan art causes you to shelve any of your original work. It's as I said before, essentially. The only way to build a fan base with your OC is to make your OC. It's okay to not do it full time, just be sure that when you get an itch to work on it, do it. Maybe it isn't even OC, maybe you draw not safe for work stuff, but you want to focus on environments or character designs rather than just helping people beat their meat. No matter what the situation is, you need to take time for yourself as a creator. You are the sole supplier of your own product. Even if you get some backlash for not pumping out the same exact thing again and again, it is important that periodically you cater to yourself instead of your fans. This kind of leads into my next point of successful content. Oftentimes, people will be discouraged if their content isn't raking in as many views, likes, shares, or what have you as previous works or the works of their friends or the works of people they admire. I think the easiest example of how silly this would be viral tweets. Oftentimes, you'll see silly videos or fan art of a recently announced thing sporting tens of thousands of likes or retweets. Almost always, you'll see a reply tweet from the OP basically plugging something else. And if you ever venture to their page, you'll notice this super shared and liked post creator barely has any followers. Why is that exactly? And it's pretty simple. Foundation. Fame and success won't be achieved instantly. If you have a viral project and people look around your page and see nothing but shit posts and garbage, they aren't likely to stay. One amazing piece of work will not keep a page afloat. People like consistency, adapt a semi-regular schedule, whether it's just one video a week, a stream, or even just a piece of art. My videos definitely don't clock in as many views as they used to, but because I now have so many of them, it allows it so that when people come to my page, they realize I will keep putting in the work. Maybe they won't like one piece of your content, but peruse around and find another that they like. Content success isn't measured solely by numbers. I've also gotten approached for sponsors, collabs, or even just gotten recognition from artists I admire off of less popular videos. As long as you are proud of the work you put out, it'll pay off with enough time and effort. It is important to interact with your fan base as well, but remember, you are still your own person. If you cater solely to your existing fan base, it won't grow. You need to try and branch out periodically. whether it's moving away from your comfort zone or your fan bases in order to draw in new followers. It's okay to read the comments, but be wary that some people would do their best just to get under your skin, either because they are asses like that, or they want a reaction out of you to feel recognized. Listen more so to the comments that actually have some thought put into them. If someone says they don't like it, don't pressure them to explain why, because chances are they don't actually want you to grow. People who do want you to grow, even if they dislike it, will often explain why, and maybe offer advice on how to remedy the situation in their eyes. It's important to listen, but you cannot please everyone, and trying to will lead you into some really mediocre work. With a lot of artists I've talked to, and even myself, as soon as you do start to build up numbers, you hit a point where you may suffer from the imposter factor, which essentially boils down to, do I deserve this? I oftentimes do this, shooting down people when they say they admire me. From my point of view, I'm still just a fat potato boy in PJ pants who sits in his apartment staring at a computer for 90% of his day. I don't go out much, I don't have too many friends, and if it weren't for the internet, I wouldn't really have anyone to socialize with. Yet, I'll still have people say that I inspire them, or that I made them want to get into video making or even speedrunning. I just constantly ask, why? It is tricky because whereas you may not feel like the inspiration you are to your fans, you still are. No matter how many followers or whatever you acquire, you'll still be seeking more, feeling like where you're at isn't enough. You aren't an imposter. As long as you keep working hard, you'll be an inspiration. Maybe you don't feel like it right now, but if you keep bettering yourself, not only will your quality increase, but maybe you'll hit that point where you're like, yeah, you know what? I do deserve this. I've worked really hard. If you manage to achieve some success, you may unfortunately encounter fake friends. Naturally, the bigger you and your content get, the more eyes you'll have on you. Whereas the majority will be supportive and nice, there are some people who see your numbers as something they can coast off of. People will act friendly or nice in an attempt to collab or interact in a public setting, in order to get some of the eyes on you, on them. This has happened to me a few times, to the point where I often sit here wondering, okay, who actually likes me and who is just smiling at me for publicity's sake? I'm on you. Which is an absolutely horrid mindset. Friends care about you. Fake friends pretend to. It's tricky to try and differentiate that. It mostly boils down to a good sense of judgment and a gut feeling. It's okay to be cautious, but try not to alienate people you converse with. If someone is being friendly towards you, but you notice on Twitter all they do is @popular people asking to either collab, boost them, or voice their work, there's a fair chance their intentions aren't entirely pure. But if you can get along with someone just talking offline and not including them in your work, there's a good chance they are genuine. That's not to say you shouldn't include your friends in your work, but if they are the ones constantly asking to be included in your public pieces, just keep an eye on them. A real friend will reach out to you when you're upset, not just when you are happy or had a popular piece of work. Remember too that friendships, like all relationships, are a give and take. But also keep in mind that a lot of artists and creators do have other stuff going on. If a buddy isn't constantly sharing your work, don't take it as a slight against you. Some people are very strict about what's on their page. Others might just not share things often. And a lot of the time, people just don't see it unless you outright show them. I talked to a few other creators and a lot of the time, yeah, they don't share my project tweets or something, but if it's ever important and I ask them about it, 9 out of 10 times it's either been, I've been busy, or, oh what, fuck, I didn't even know this was out. Social media nowadays is terrible with what's shown, and your post can easily be lost in the timeline or subscription formulas. What almost all of these subjects have had in common, though, is the biggest anxiety factor I've seen for any content creator ever. Numbers. Oh boy, numbers. Numbers are such a disgusting necessity in the artistic community. Whether it's from wondering if you should be charging more than $5 for a sketch commission, you should, by the way, pay yourself at least minimum wage. Figure if a sketch takes you an hour, that's at least 10 bucks. Should I make a Patreon if it'll only have a few supporters? Or if it's from thinking that your small following means you're a small person. It's almost like some post-apocalyptic movie where everyone feels as though their self-worth is determined by the amount of followers they have, and the number is broadcasted on their sleeve so that the 100,000s don't dare look at the 1,000s. This is silly. I have over 500,000 subs at the moment on YouTube, but here's the dirty little secret. This doesn't make me better than anyone. At all. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm just a slob sitting in front of his computer not talking to anyone more often than not. That kind of person is generally meh on a lot of people's radars, but for whatever reason, if I slap the 500k sub badge on my sleeve, it instantly becomes interesting? I'm still a human, my followers are too. I'm no better than any of my fans just because I have a bigger number. Just like the people I admire aren't gods among men or anything. I've only interacted with a few of the higher ups in terms of YouTube popularity, but when I have, we just talked. Like people. It's important to remember that a lot of the people you looked up to were where you are right now. Hell, even just 3 years ago, I used to have only around 20 viewers when I would stream on Twitch, but I kept at it, and now I generally have somewhere between 200 or 400. It is insanely difficult to not let numbers get in your head, especially when you compare your numbers to others. Someone else's success might just seem like a missed opportunity for you, but instead of letting numbers destroy you, try to let them inspire you. If they put in the work and got successful, then by gum, you put in the work and get successful yourself. It may not seem like it, but another big factor for success in the creative community is luck. It's lucky if some content goes viral. It's lucky if you find someone in the business. It's lucky if your work gets seen, in all honesty. That's not to say it's a deciding factor, but let's put it in a disgusting analogy I bet the kiddos can understand. If you are playing a battle royale, it's lucky if you drop and instantly find a good weapon. But that's not to say that if you drop and find a bad one, you can't still get that victory royale. Oh, God. I feel so gross. The point being, some people will have it easier, but that doesn't lock you out of success. You'll have to work harder, but you know what? It's just gonna make it that much more satisfying when you get there. People often think that they need to make it big as fast as they can, but forget that it can come at any time. There's plenty of people that hit fame much later in life. Look at one of my favorite YouTubers, Terminal Montage. He was pretty under the radar for a long time, and he's just recently started to blow up because of his Something series, because he kept at it. As long as you want to keep creating content, just keep creating content. It is important to know that at first, you may not be able to solely support art. Be smart if necessary and take a part-time job or something. You may have to create as a hobby at first, but just keep at it and work when you can. As I said, these are mostly my anxieties, and some of my friends are mutuals, but what are some things that make you feel anxious? Feel free to comment with what you've faced, and maybe some other commenters will relate or have advice for you. I know it's tough, but just keep at it. The ability to stick with something will take you far in this life. Just keep up the persistence.